Welcome back, everybody. This is our next attempt at 2-Minute Tuesday. It very well could end up being 22 minutes, but we're going to do our best. Today we have Judy Window, who is the Executive Director here at Morgan Franklin Fellowship, and we also have Amy Chom, who is representing multiple organizations, but she is the founder of the Chom Group and has a deep knowledge of real estate, both on the residential and the commercial side. Today we're going to talk about what we should be thinking about for people that are looking at buying their first home. Now, for me, I don't own a home and I have not yet. And then we have people on the other end of the spectrum, like Judy, who waited until much later in life to buy their first home, and then Amy, who's been a homeowner for quite some time. So, Amy, what do you think are the important things that people should be thinking about in the next 18 months if they're thinking about becoming a first-time home buyer?
I think it's important for them to begin to understand what the various options are that are out there. There are some people who really don't want to take on a lot of responsibility in terms of lawn maintenance and other things because it affects their quality of life. So they should really be looking at something that's more like a condominium. Whereas another person who is looking for a single family home, they need to really understand how the age of the home, the condition of the home, really can affect the long-term viability of maintaining and owning that home. And on the flip side, whether or not you're looking to create a subsidy model where you buy a multifamily that maybe has 2 or 3 units in it, and you have those rental units help subsidize the cost of your unit. But in return, you have some additional responsibility being a landlord that needs to be heavily considered when looking at the home ownership option.
So there's a few options that you'd recommend for people that are dipping their toe in the water, that are affordable and could be a good way to start, but also offset the cost along the way.
Yeah, I think that home ownership is probably one of the most secure investment tools. And as many of us have just recently experienced, maybe our 401ks or our stocks, if we're lucky enough to have stocks, have been affected by this most recent pandemic. But real estate tends to be one of the most viable long-term investment solutions for people to create personal wealth.
Right. Okay. Now, before we continue down this path, to talk about what resources and things people should consider in terms of programs and whatnot as their first go, Judy, can you talk a little bit about your experience? Because you rented for a long time before going down the path of home ownership. Could you tell us a little bit about what your experience was and what you learned?
Yeah, sure will. I didn't buy my house until I was late in my 40s, mostly because I was chicken. I don't like no for an answer, and I was afraid to go and meet with bankers and get no for an answer or feel embarrassed because I didn't have 20% saved. I didn't really know that you can go in and say, listen, how do I buy a house? What are the steps that I have to do after working at a bank for a while or a credit union, and having to do those types of seminars? I was like, why don't people know about this? Anyway, so it was because I was chicken, basically, and I wasted all that time. So now my house, we bought a 2-family house. Our kids live downstairs. Our daughter, her husband, and our 2 grandkids live downstairs. But if we had bought this sooner, we would have been in a very different place because our house would have probably been paid off by now.
Interesting. So it was just the fear factor, but you've learned over time that there's a lot of opportunity to get into your own home if you'd like, and there's a lot of benefit that you came to find after becoming a homeowner.
Yeah, it's not hard. You just have to, swallow that. I don't know if it's pride or if it's just nerves or it's that fear of getting the answer no, but it's not about you. It might be, you might have bad credit or you might not have 20% down. I came from the generation that everybody had 20% down. It's not like that anymore. There are so many programs out there and so many things that you can do. And there are so many educational ways that you can learn about saving money, the different programs. Credit unions are an incredible source of first-time home buyers. So don't be afraid, do it as soon as you can. I don't care if you're single. I don't care if you're a teenager in your 18, 19, start thinking about it, start going to those seminars, because it does take a couple of years sometimes to get to the place where you're ready, but at least start that educational process.
Great. So that's a great jumping off point. Now, Amy, you're really familiar with all of the programs and resources out there, as well as what it's like to ramp up to get prepared and be able to go through the process. In the next 18 months, the economy is looking pretty interesting, and there might be a great there might be a lot of opportunity for people to get into their first home at a reasonable price. What are the programs out there that people should be looking at, and what are the steps they should be taking to get themselves prepared to go through that process when the time's right?
Well, I definitely want to reinforce what Judy said about home ownership education. Everybody thinks, oh, I just get a real estate agent and that agent shows me houses and I go buy a house. And it's actually much more complex and much more important that when you're making probably one of the largest purchase decisions in your life, because how often are you going to spend, even if you are just buying $100,000 condo, how often are you spending $100,000? So you should really, really educate yourself before working. I mean, of course, if you work with me, you'll always be protected. But before working with a real estate agent and before talking to mortgage brokers, go to organizations like NeighborWorks Southern New Hampshire, the Home Team. They're a nonprofit organization that serves most of Southern New Hampshire that really has a well-known educational program that will teach you about every step of the process, as well as what financing options are out there. They won't lend you the money, but they can help you either A, financially prepare to be ready to purchase, or introduce you to the different loan programs that are out there, like rural development, which is a great loan program for low income. Unfortunately, you are restricted from purchasing within urban areas, but you can purchase outside of those urban areas, get a 40-year amortization, a really low interest rate with 0% down. And I know a lot of people who have been able to successfully purchase properties using that. It's a very complex program, but for those that can benefit from it, it actually creates stability within their household and gives them a place to call home.
Got it. So that's a great set of resources. So to just kind of pull it all together, don't be afraid to check out the process. You can do it, but it's a big decision. There's lots of steps that are involved. There's plenty of education and resources out there. Here in New Hampshire, the Southern New Hampshire NeighborWorks is a great resource, but NeighborWorks is a nationwide organization. There's lots of programs regardless of where you're at. I just want to thank Judy, who is the Executive Director of the Morgan Franklin Fellowship, for joining us today and sharing her story. And I want to thank Amy Chom from the Chom Group for sharing her expertise in real estate. If you happen to be in New Hampshire and you're looking to learn more or an organization to work with on your home purchase, do reach out to the Chom Group. I'm Mike, and I'm the Director of Operations at the Morgan Franklin Fellowship. I want to let you know that we do have free online resources such as our financial literacy program. So if you're looking to fill some time right now during the time where we're all spending time at home for the coronavirus, do check out the morganfranklinfellowship.com website and reach out to us if you'd like to learn more. Thank you so much, and we'll see you at our next 2 Minute Tuesday.